Welcome, 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 boys and girls, children of all ages, and the rest of you who are somehow finding us on here. I way more views than I expect usually after I check this the next day on like Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
We are Eat Sleep Podcast, Repeat FM 99, and the Fox's first and only wrestling podcast. I am Sean Hood. That is Dave Taylor.
Hello, everybody.
And we are here to talk all things wrestling at you, not with you, at you, because you can't, really say anything back. You can comment if you'd like to. We get your comments. If you want to go ahead and throw those in there, we're happy to hear from you guys. It's nice to have the interaction during the show. It's different for us. So we love that. Make yourselves heard. We love hearing from you. And there's lots of ways to interact with us. Facebook.com/ESPR99. Twitter @ESPR99, or email us ESPR@FM99.com. And you can stay in touch with all of our episodes. There's lots of different ways. The easiest way is going to FM99.com and 1069thefox.com and clicking on the media tab right under that. It says ESPR. You can see it in the letters right over there, ESPR. So you just click that. It'll take you to our links for our most recent episode. And then when you... What are you doing, Dave?
I was trying to point at it, and I did a very bad job.
Yeah, you did a really bad job.
Right there. There we go.
In any event, you go ahead and do that, and you can follow our episodes on those. That takes you to our feed, basically. But you can find us on all your major podcasting apps, SoundCloud, Stitcher, your TuneIn, all the different stuff. You podcasting apps, we're on there. Yes, if you're on an Apple phone or whatever it is, you can look us up on the podcasting app, find us on there. Just search ESPR Wrestling. And if you could, give us a 5-star rating and a review, subscribe, and tell your friends. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us get in front of more ears and now eyes. So, you, in any event.
Yeah, but by the way, if you're somebody that's in the Facebook group, that's like one of those like wrestling fan groups, feel free to share our videos in there.
Yeah, we're not going to harp on people for putting our stuff up.
No. We encourage it. So I try to do it a little bit, but if we got others out there that are fans, let them know about the show. We've been doing this for 3 years now. This is our Facebook.
God, don't say that, Dave. Look, when wrestling
we had hair when it started. I
didn't. When wrestling shows we go back to being a thing with fans again, I expect to see some people with ESPR signs. In any event, it's happened before. Let's make it happen again. In any event, so this week, really, we're here to we were going to try and be done by the time SmackDown starts. I'm not sure that'll happen now. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, that's most likely. We're going to talk to you about AEW Fyterfest Night 2 and NXT's Great American Bash Night 2 and kind of compare, contrast, talk about what we like, what we didn't like, and lots of different stuff from there. So without further ado, I think
Bash
maybe
or Fyterfest? Bash or Fyterfest?
What did we start with last week?
Bash. You want to go
Fyterfest this week? Yeah.
All right.
Give AEW the rub this time.
There we go.
Put you over, kid. So... Fyterfest, AEW Tag Team Championship match between Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus Private Party. Look, I have the same problem I've had with Kenny Omega and Page the whole time. By the way, it's weird to hear anybody call him Adam Page. Everybody calls him Hangman Page.
Yeah. This is how much chemistry sometimes I feel they have. Zero.
Oh my God, zero chemistry. It doesn't feel like a team. It still to this day feels like two singles wrestlers who were put together. That's exactly how they come across.
Yeah.
It was fine. I mean, the match was fine. Everybody did some fun stuff and everything, but there was never any real drama that Private Party was going to win the match.
No, and the one thing that AEW has, and while some of the tag matches are fun, like sometimes like there's just what's the rules?
There don't seem to be any most of the time.
Because there was an issue in one of the later matches we'll get into. I think where somebody almost got DQ'd for something, but like the whole other time, like what he was doing was like not an issue, and it's like okay.
JR will frequently say, the ref needs to get on them about this. The ref needs to address some of the rules here, blah, 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 blah. And he says it so much. Like, sometimes I feel like, sometimes you hear that in a lot of tag team wrestling. Like, the ref needs to get control of this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. JR doesn't say it quite like that. He says it like, hey, you're not doing your job. You're doing tag team wrestling bad. That's kind of how it comes across when JR says it. And it's starting to come across that way to me, the viewer, as I'm watching it and I'm going, yeah, he's right. This is kind of, there's no semblance of order to this. They're kind of doing whatever they want. And to me, that's not tag team wrestling.
Yeah. And that kind of hurts.
I understand that there are moments in the matches where things will break down and people will start just kind of getting involved in this stuff. And that happens from time to time. But in AEW, one of the biggest problems I have is it happens consistently throughout the match. So
yeah.
But again, they did some fun stuff. It was entertaining. There was just no real drama.
No, which is unfortunate because I like Private Party, but
yeah, I do too.
Didn't work out. Next, Lance Archer. Well, he defeated Joey Janela. Spoiler alert. So
he did defeat Joey Janela. But you know what? I'm actually going to give them some credit there. I actually really enjoyed that. I've seen some people complain that, oh, why did it take Archer so long to beat a guy like Joey Janela? That doesn't really bother me too much.
Joey's not a slouch.
No, we've seen Joey go toe-to-toe with their current world heavyweight champion, Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In these really hardcore fights. I mean, so it's really the idea that he can't stand up to Lance Archer is weird to me.
Yeah, it is a little odd. And it was, it's still early in the night, so I don't think, this could be one of those short matches. And Jake Roberts with Lance, I think it's fine. Lance needs something. I mean, I was a fan of him back when he was 12 years in when ECW WWE days. And I was like, this guy's got something, and then he kind of went away.
I was a fan of him back when he was in TNA. He was way back when he was Lance Hoyt in TNA. I liked him then. He started to have a singles run. I remember distinctly he had a really good singles match with Abyss, and I was like, wow, this guy's he's progressing. I see something there. And here we are, 15 years later or whatever it is, and don't get me wrong, he has progressed tremendously.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting near the twilight, and you can make a case. Well, Joey Janela, should have been the guy that won this match, but no, Lance.
Oh no! Lance needed this win more than Joey Janela.
He needs this, and he's got to be taken seriously at some point. And hopefully, if you haven't watched a lot of Lance Archer, like you said, go back watch some TNA stuff. If you can find, what he did in ECW Part 2.
There was some good stuff in there, which, by the way, they just changed his name to Vance Archer, which was weird.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then in you can actually go find some of his stuff from New Japan before he came to AEW, because he did some really, really good work there. You can go find some of that. There's just something missing with him in AEW right now. There's no motivation behind him other than he's a big guy. There's no character there. And that's part of my problem with some of these guys is there's no character beyond what they are superficially. He's a big angry guy, the end. We have no motivation for him other than that. When he first came into AEW and he was zeroed in on Cody and he was determined to become the Lord, I can't think of the title. The TNT champion. Wow.
Yeah.
The TNT champion over Cody. And he was talking, he had Jake Roberts cutting these promos on Cody's family and this, that, and the other thing, and how, Lance Archer was going to rip all this away from him. And that was good. I dug that. But then once that ended and he lost to Cody,
they dialed it down a little bit,
Yeah. And then he was just big and angry just to be big and angry.
Lance mad, smash.
Yeah, that's kind of where he's at.
So a non-wrestling angle that took place was
hold on. Let me know if you can hear this. You ready? Hold on. I don't know if you can hear this.
I heard that eye roll. I heard that eye roll.
Yeah, that was God Almighty. I couldn't. I understand they're kind of in a bind at the moment because Moxley can't be there, so he couldn't have the scheduled match with Brian Cage. But I don't care about the FTW belt at this point. It was a neat thing for Taz to do in ECW.
Yeah, and by the way, in case you're wondering for ownership, this was a Taz creation. This was not an ECW property. Right. It would now be owned by WWE, which kind of, I guess, makes sense. Maybe Taz, because he had the dig last week at the WWE, and then him doing this week. And I don't know if Cage is the guy that is the guy for this, or I don't know. I mean, eventually we'll get the match.
I'm going to say no, because I don't think that belt is for anybody but Taz. It's like putting the $1 Million Championship on anybody but the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. It just doesn't make any sense, because the belt was built and designed around Taz by Taz for Taz's motto and way of life. It had nothing to do with an actual championship that people needed to compete for, this, that, and the other thing. It was not sanctioned by anybody. It wasn't, it was his creation. It's kind of like Zack Ryder's Internet Championship.
Yeah, because it meant a lot.
Zack Ryder. Nobody else having that would matter.
No, but you bring up a good point, because those were things that got that guy over. And this is kind of like, I don't want to say you're making KJ a Taz guy, kind of like you're being a Paul Heyman guy. It has to fit. The belt has to fit the guy, or he's got to create it. Not the case here.
I'm fine with Taz being Cage's guy, like Taz, being his mouthpiece and everything. I'm totally cool with that.
That's fine.
I don't need him to be Taz 2.0. I need him to be Cage.
No, unless this guy can do a lot of suplexes, but he doesn't look like he's one of those.
I mean, he does suplexes. He does suplexes. But again, it's not the point. Is he's not supposed to be Taz. He's supposed to be Brian Cage.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Thumbs down on that segment. The tag team. Wait, I did that one already. Sorry about that.
That was last week, right?
Yeah. Here we go.
The Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Brothers versus FTR and the Young Bucks. Again, entertaining. Lots of crazy crap happened.
Yeah. But
it didn't feel like a tag team match, really. It felt like chaos.
It did. And then when you always have the Young Bucks involved, it's their super kick party and stuff. And it's weird with FTR in this situation because people are going to play, well, they didn't go over in WWE. They should be going over here. And here they don't win.
Well, I mean, they've been winning to this point, and really here they can point the finger at the Young Bucks if they want to, since the Young Bucks ate the pin.
Yeah.
It gave Pentagon and Phoenix a win, which they've needed for a little while now. Butcher and Blade kind of get a win by proxy, which, what's a bummer, is I really kind of dig Butcher and Blade's gimmick. I kind of like them, but there's nothing going on with them at all. They're just a fodder team. They're almost like an angrier version of the Vaudevillains.
I was a Vaudevillains fan when they were.
I was a Vaudevillains fan too, but they come across like an angrier, darker version of the Vaudevillains. Especially, is it Blade with the mustache and the?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe part of it is with these teams where it kind of feels a little bit forced, or is that we see these guys in the independent scene. Kenny is Kenny who these guys are, and so they're letting them when they come in. And there's nobody going, well, we need to do this or we need to do that, because maybe that's always a complaint when these guys come to WWE. It's like, well, we're going to fine tune you for a way that relates more to our audience, and other than you just being a guy that has whatever going on.
I think one of the things you run into when you let these guys have more free creative control is you end up with some great stuff. John Moxley has cut some amazing promos. He has done some really great work. You've got certain guys that Cody Rhodes has really done some great stuff. I think that's 100% possible. But I think you also run into some train wrecks where these guys don't really know what's best for their character or what's best on television right now, and they need more guidance. Now, I don't know that they're not getting that. This is all speculation on my point based on what we're told about the freedom in AEW to do what these guys want to do.
And I think that's a little bit of a problem. What are guys like Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts doing there? Is Jake just hired to be a manager? But I mean, is Arn there to be a manager? Because Arn would be a guy who was a producer.
Well, as far as Arn's a producer, isn't he, or a coach or whatever he is? I don't know what he's doing there. I think he's a producer role or something like that. But I mean, you would hope that these guys are, to a degree, laying some knowledge on these dudes. I'd really like to see Jake, and I don't mean this as a knock against Arn, but when we're talking character and really getting in touch with the psyche of who you are, who your character is, man, I'd love to see Jake Roberts just hold classes for these guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think he would have so much to teach them. But Jake Roberts was one of the most finely tuned performers as far as his character that wrestling ever saw. That guy, you believed every word that came out of his mouth.
And he always talked really low.
Yes. Oh my God. One of my favorite things about him was that when he was being really menacing and really vicious to somebody, he'd talk like this, and he'd say, "Sting, when you and I meet in the ring," and he'd almost whisper. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because he had a gravelly, evil tone to it, and you were just like, he's so creepy, and like he just nailed it.
And that character that he was for all these years, you want to talk about consistency, never changed. Heel, face. Never changed. Same attitude the whole time.
Yep. And I think that's the sign of him really knowing how to do his character. But again, we're getting off course because that's what we do. Again, the tag team match was fun. It was a crazy spot fest. I didn't feel a lot of drama. I will say that Canadian Destroyer on top of all the guys outside of the ring was insane. So I'll give them that one. They do stuff that
I'm like watching guys wait for a spot, but that's
I mean, it is what it is. It's the indie style,
Yeah,
but it was crazy to watch. Nyla Rose versus Kenzie Page and Kylie King.
We had a question in the last match, by the way.
Oh, did we? Did we have a question?
Patrice, what does FTR stand for?
I think it's this Patrine.
I'm sorry, Patrine.
It's okay. FTR. What does FTR stand for? Because I don't think they've actually given an official meaning to that.
Is it Fear the Revival? Is it?
I don't know that.
I mean, because we know FTR means like for the record.
They claim there's different ones. Okay, here we got a few of them that have been floating around. There have been Fear the Revolt, Follow the Revival, and then now get ready for this, okay? Well, I'm not going to say the word because I can. It's the internet, but I'm going to choose not to. F the rest.
That's like Taz's like belt, you know?
Almost a little bit, yeah. Which would be another reason we don't need the FTW championship.
But apparently it might be the Revolt. So it could be. You know,
apparently they were trying to use the team name the Revolt, but there's already a team out there named the Revolt. It's Caleb Conley and Zane Riley. Zane Riley's a guy I know. I went to Hooters with him. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude, and they're a very entertaining act. And they have been busting their butts on the tag team scene on the independent level. I'd really hate to see their name, the Revolt, taken from them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they have really, to me, they'll always be the Revolt at this point. I'm always going to be looking at them. By the way, somebody signed them. Yeah, I know Caleb Conley's been on Impact and stuff like that, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. All right. Next match, the handicap match: Nyla Rose versus Kenzie Page and Kayla King. I'm always trying to figure out what they're doing with Nyla. So
it was a return match for her. She's been gone a little while. It was a squash essentially. It was just to make her made to make her look the CM Punk of tag teams. FTR.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut off and read that, but the name CM Punk caught my attention there in the corner. It was a squash match for Nyla Rose. It was what it was. It was just there to make her look good, and it succeeded in that purpose. It did look.
Yeah, it was short. I mean, it was the shortest match of any of the shows that were on.
And she announced that she hired a manager, so that's interesting. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think she needs something like that. Yeah. Colt Cabana and the Dark Order, they defeated SoCal Uncensored. I don't care about the Dark Order. They've tried to make me. They've tried to make me care about the Dark Order, and no. I will say that I care about Colt Cabana and his storyline, whatever he's doing, for multiple reasons. One, I like Colt Cabana. Two, he's on my fantasy wrestling league. So I need him to keep getting wins. So I drafted him just before I signed him, just before he joined the Dark Order, because I had the impression that he was going to start picking up some wins as a part of the Dark Order. So good for me.
I will say this about Brody Lee. Watching him cut a promo, and I've talked about this in the past. Why didn't they have this guy do this in WWE?
Oh my God, I know.
I never understood that when they had that whole bizarre run with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt going down, and how he wasn't. That would have saved that match at Mania, I think, as he was involved. And I don't know. He wasn't in the plans, I guess. But
I also like that Brody Lee steered away from. He was doing Vince McMahon impersonations up until recently, and he steered away from that more recently. And I'm glad about that because, like, okay. I get it in the beginning; it's funny, ha 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 ha. But don't lean on that. Like the whole point of this company, like one of the things that people said is we don't want this to be a bunch of disgruntled WWE superstars, this, that, and the other thing. We want it to be its own thing. And doing nothing but taking... This is a mistake TNA made when I mean, they did it a lot beforehand too, but when Hogan and Bischoff came onto the scene and they tried to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw and they were constantly taking shots at WWE, all it did was serve to remind you that they're not WWE and they're nowhere close to their level.
And it always cracked me up when TNA, it's like, we're not WWE, we don't do 10-minute promos, and then the guy would talk for 10 minutes. I'm like,
oh my God. And it wouldn't even be a guy you cared about. It would be somebody you don't want to hear do a promo ever at all. I'd have to listen to Dixie effing Carter talk for 15 minutes for something that should take her 5. It was ridiculous. And I wouldn't believe a thing she said.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe I could watch a stupid storyline about AJ Styles having a drunken one-night stand with a woman and having a baby with her. And, just freaking But again, anyways, tag team match was good. I dig what they're doing right now with Cabana and Brody Lee in the Dark Order. I like that Lee let Cabana get the pin. So moving on. To the the impromptu, because it wasn't the way it's supposed to be. Sorry. And now for the main event of the evening.
There we go. Yeah, Chris Jericho taking on Orange Cassidy.
Good match. It was a good. It wasn't originally meant to be the show closer. I don't think.
No.
It was supposed to be Cage and Moxley. I'm pretty sure, but it was a very good match. Jericho played the a-hole very, very, very well.
He's been doing a great job at that as of late.
Cassidy played a really good underdog, and it is, of all the people that are getting screwed by them not having an audience, and it's understandable they don't have an audience. Of all the people that are getting screwed by them not having an audience, Cassidy might be the biggest case for that.
I think definitely in AEW right now.
He feeds off of that crowd reaction so much, and see, when we finally got to see him drop the typical Orange Cassidy blasé attitude and like go off on Chris Jericho, there was no live crowd. There were wrestlers, but there was no live crowd. The live crowd would have eaten that up.
Yeah. Do you think that did the right guy win this match? Because if Orange won, people say, "Well, is it too much too soon? Would it backfire?" Kind of thing.
It's not the right time for him to pick up the win over Jericho. It's no audience, so it's not going to mean as much. And Jericho he just came off the losing end of that feud with the Elite and everything with his group. He needed a win, and he looked good, and Cassidy absolutely gained something by taking Jericho to his limit.
What I think that's going to help Orange out if they pair him with the right guy. I mean, the dude's got a lot of potential. He's over with the crowd, but it's kind of like, and we'll talk about it when we get to NXT. But when you have a guy that you put in there with a veteran, and they're going to learn stuff. The pacing of a match. Jericho's that guy that can do that. Because he's like, okay, you need to slow down here. You need to whatever else. So that's perfect. Because he's directing that match 100%. And, it's a big lesson for Orange Cassidy. So, and in a couple of months, they can have a rematch. And, maybe the result's the same. Maybe it's different. Maybe, they're ready to say, all right, we can have this happen. So,
yeah, maybe. So, Fyterfest, I mean, it was a good. I guess it was an enjoyable TV special. It wasn't worthy of the pay-per-view moniker.
No, definitely not. Well, it didn't help either. Obviously, with Moxley, was it better than the first week? First week, you had two big matches. Other people.
I don't know, because the first week I could point to Penelope Ford and Hikaru Shida, and I feel like there was another match on that show I really enjoyed too, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I mean the tag match I wasn't crazy about, but Private Party with the Jurassic Express,
Right, I enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed that one.
And Cody and Hager, I wasn't crazy about the ending. I know some people thought it was a good Jake Hager match, and I wasn't sure.
Was this better than week one? I don't know. It might have been about the same.
Yeah.
Maybe I enjoyed it a little more. I don't know, because I was into the Orange Cassidy stuff. I did enjoy that. I was into, and again, we talk about it being crazy and whatnot, but not having as much drama, but the tag team matches were fun. They were crazy and stuff, but.
Okay. Between asked a very good question. Seems like you didn't like any of the matches. So why did you watch AEW instead of WWE?
First off, I'm going to say that's not true that we didn't like any of the matches. I like Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. I thought they had a good match.
Go watch that match if you haven't seen that last night. If you're not a fan, that would be probably the place to start. Would be that match. Jericho's a pro, Cassidy's an up-and-comer.
I enjoyed Lance Archer and Joey Janela. I thought that was a good fight. And again, the tag team matches, they were fun. If I'm coming off too negative, it's not my intention. They were fun. If one of them was like crazy spot fest and the other one was more traditional tag team wrestling, I would have probably been a bigger fan, simply because I like classic tag team wrestling. And so when you got the crazy spot fest with people all over the ring and no real tags happening a lot of the time and just a reckless abandon for the rules, it's a lot, especially when there's 8 guys in the ring in that one match.
Yeah, and I have that same issue, and I complain because I'll complain about NXT matches that were like that, like the six-woman match last week had some spots where it's like, well, I don't think we needed that early in the match. I complain about WWE matches that had that. It's the style of the tag matches. I mean, like I like watching AEW, but like it's just the style that you just get frustrated sometimes. Like there's stuff in WWE where you're like, seriously, we're doing this, and then I think we're also seeing a product of the culture of these guys wrestling around the world more than we used to see that. I mean, back in the day, you used to, if you were an American wrestler, you wrestled in America a lot. Maybe you made runs to Japan or something like that, but you weren't asked to do much that you didn't typically have to do. I shouldn't say that. There was different stuff they would do, but it wasn't like you had to go out and learn in a completely different, style. Yeah.
Then you had, I mean, like, think about it, in the 90s when these guys started coming in from Lucha Libre, that was almost unheard of in this culture.
Yeah, that style was different. And guys back in the 80s, a lot of these guys had territory. So they worked in Florida for a month or two. You know, they come in hot, you know, they build the heat up, and then, you know, the champion goes over. Then that guy goes on to, you know, Texas.
So basically, I think the easiest way to explain this to you, Patrine, is if you are fed up with WWE and you want to try something different, even if you're not fed up, you just want to see what something a little different than WWE is like, go check it out. Yeah. That's a good way for you to kind of get a vibe for what the indie scene is like, for what some of the styles around the world are more like. Especially, but again, the indie stuff is really heavily featured. I think that you'll get a good vibe for that, and you'll be able to see something that is not the typical WWE style, and you never know, that might grab you more.
Yeah. So some people like that stuff. That's why AEW has the popularity it has. Now, I mean, obviously, it's popular as WWE, but right now it's both on the same you know, weight with NXT regards to ratings. I will say this, and this is why I've always gravitated more towards WWE with the tag team wrestling, is that the storytelling. The storytelling has always been there, and that's what's kind of not happening on the AEW side. It's been more the flips and everything else.
Well, and it kills me because they're certainly capable of it. Because if you go back and look at some of their earlier shows, especially, there was some really good storytelling in those. One of the ones I'll point to every time when somebody says, like, if I should watch one match from AEW, what should it be? I'm going to tell you to go watch Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. And when those two faced each other at, was it All Out or was it All In?
It was one of those events.
One of the ones before they had a regular TV show.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was a fantastic wrestling match. Cody and his brother proved that they understand wrestling and the art of it so well. So, I mean, again, it's not like AEW is not capable of these matches. They tend to lean a little heavier on the indie style.
Yeah, and it's a thing with one more thing on that is that, like, these matches where there's a big spot and you're like, oh, this match is going to end. And then, no, there's still like 10 minutes after this big high spot, which should end the match. That NXT does it a little bit at times, but definitely it's a lot. AEW is a lot more guilty with that. It just gets frustrating. Oh, this match is over. And it's like, oh, got 10 more minutes.
Right.
So on the other network, on the USA Network, was the Great American Bash.
Yes, the Great American Bash.
And
he's great. Which, by the way, Triple H completely admitted that they did that to counter AEW's Fyterfest. He did kind of try to backpedal a little bit and say, I don't counter a program, I just do what's best for NXT. But he admitted that he did it as a, you know, he's like, we're we're competing with them, blah 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 blah. Like, so he essentially admitted they counter programmed with this.
Well, you know, and it makes, I guess, sense, because I mean, right now with everything going on, there's no need to, I guess, on the NXT side to do all these other pay-per-views. Why not, if you're gonna have these special events without a crowd?
Well, yeah, he said there just wasn't an NXT one scheduled anytime soon anyway.
Yeah,
like, it just wasn't part of the schedule. So he was like, so they just decided, why not? This will help kill the gap.
Yeah.
I think he said the next one will be around SummerSlam or something like that.
Yeah, SummerSlam Takeover. Opening match, Street Fight, Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim. Holy smokes!
Yeah, I mean, it was a very
good on both ladies.
It was a very WWE hardcore style. It was about as hardcore, about as hardcore as you can get while still being safe in WWE, which is fine. They did a fantastic job. The
table spot off the apron on the outside, or whatever the platform.
Yeah. They both ladies worked incredibly hard. They looked good. I think the right person won because Candice LeRae needed the win. That twisting neck breaker off the ropes into this pile of chairs. Oof.
I was so worried when the table's on the top rope that there's no way that table is staying stable. And so,
I was so concerned. I was so concerned.
Me too. And I'm like, somebody is going to get hurt. And I mean, but thankfully it was a great spot. But both ladies put on a great match. I don't think Mia's hurt by this.
No,
but it's a clean one for Candice, which is good. But it doesn't hurt Mia. But yeah, tremendous start to the show. I enjoyed it. Go watch it. It's worth the the 20 minutes or so that it is. And
yet again, the women tore the house down.
Yeah, and it's your typical street fight with trash cans and
again,
no kendo sticks.
It's a very stereotypical WWE hardcore style match, but it's a well done one.
Yes, yeah. Our next match. This one I didn't see all the matches for NXT, but Bronson Reed defeating Tony Nese.
It was a filler match. It's just meant to build up Bronson Reed, which is fine. Bronson could use it. They clearly have plans for him as a big guy in that division. So they need to kind of start building them up. And this is the way they do it. They've done this with a lot of their guys, is they give them these wins over these other guys and build them up slowly to the next level, which makes sense. Bronson had a good showing against Tony Nese. That top rope splash he does as a finisher is just vicious looking. But yeah, it was an enjoyable filler match. It was, it wasn't anything to write home about, but I didn't feel like I wasted my time.
Yeah. This match was another, kind of a short one. Johnny Gargano and Isaiah.
Another filler.
Swerve Scott. Yeah, it's just more of a showcase.
But Gargano, he won, which was good. He needed the win after he came up a little short recently. But Swerve gained something in standing up to essentially the Iron Man of NXT, who's done everything there is to do in NXT. Yeah. He had a competitive match with him and looked good even in defeat. So again, I think it served its purpose. Gargano got his win. Swerve got a little rub, and it helps him out.
Yep. Then we had the 6-man match with Legado del Fantasma, if I'm saying that right.
Fantasma,
and then Drake Mack and Breezango.
Yeah. It was.
I like the side of Breezango much better because they're good wrestlers. They don't get to showcase it, but the right team won, and man, the whole, I guess you want to call them the stable or whatever. I like these guys because they've been a great threat with Drake Maverick and everything else, and these are the guys, the flying around style, if you will, lucha style, that it works in regards, kind of like the Lucha House Party, where to a certain extent, but then the moves can backfire on them in the costume.
Yeah, I enjoy Legado del Fantasma. I think they're a good, huge stable. I like Santos Escobar in this role better than I did as El Hijo del Fantasma. I just didn't see it necessary to all of a sudden make him that character who didn't really get a lot of talking time and whatnot. Santos Escobar is a great talker, and he's a really good worker. So I'm glad they're letting him play this role out. And I like his almost Kingpin style character that he's using. The biggest success of this match, though, was Joaquin Wilde was able to go an entire match without playing any version of a Bromance character or a DJ or anything. So, yay. So that was the highlight of the match for me. I mean, other than that, it was fine. It was a good match. Right team won. It just, if it had gone another way, I would have been shocked.
Yeah. Next match, kind of a squash match. Mercedes Martinez, Santana. But, it's a showcase for Mercedes.
I will say this. I love the idea that she's getting her shot with WWE at this point because, boy, you do not see WWE signing women for the first time at 39 years old.
No, you don't. No.
I mean, with the exception, Asuka was a little older as well when she was signed. I think she was in her upper 30s. Because I think
Shayna was a little bit older too.
Is she? Yeah, Shayna's. Yeah, I think you're right. Shayna's probably in her mid 30s at least.
Shayna's going to be 40 next month.
Yeah. See, there you go. Although things have seemed.
But she's been around for like 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Although you know what, Asuka, I say that incorrectly. Asuka's actually 38 now. Okay. But even then, the idea that they signed a woman in her 30s. That was astonishing to me at one point because I couldn't picture them signing any woman over 25 at one point in time.
Yeah, because you want to bring them up, but I think you need to bring in these veterans.
No. Let's be clear. When they wouldn't sign women over 25, it's because they wanted them for one reason and one reason only, and that was to look good.
Yeah,
they didn't care about women's wrestling. Now they're taking it seriously. They're giving these women real shots.
Yeah, which, by the way, not that we're going to talk about Raw here, but Monday, definitely watch the 2 lady matches. Well, because Kairi Sane finally got a chance to really wrestle
and prove she could still do it. She's been on TV for a little bit and she brought it.
Well, because she wasn't fighting Nia Jax.
Well, that's a step in the right direction.
But it's a shame because the story is Nia's going to Kairi's going to be gone by SummerSlam.
That's the rumor and innuendo, but that's what. Let me put it this way: that's what Dave Meltzer is saying. That is not what everybody is saying. Other people are saying that it's not a lock she's leaving the company in summer at SummerSlam. They say that she's they're trying to work something out where she'll be willing to stay, or where she'd be able to stay, or still be a part of their company somehow.
What she did on Monday is like, yeah, you had this the whole time for the last year. I mean, she's been fine in the tag matches, but it's like,
I loved her in the Kabuki Warriors.
She's great in that, but it's the single matches where, it's because she's outside gets Nia Jax, but it's like, but she's got these potentials with the Sashas and the Beckys. And
without a doubt. You got to remember, Sasha wasn't there forever.
No,
Bailey was just starting. Like it took her forever to finally hit a point where she was trying to rehab her character and did something new. Before that, it was Becky and Ronda. I mean, nobody was getting interrupted in that. It was. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of room for Kairi at a certain point. And I mean, why? I think the Kabuki Warriors benefited her greatly because it got her on TV in a meaningful role.
It helped, and I think she got a lot of respect in that big the ladder match with Charlotte and Becky, and then because she got hurt and she tried to finish the match until Becky saved her. But I think because all of a sudden trying to throw the chair in the ring and everything that happened in that match. Patrine's got another question. What happened to Bianca Belair? I don't know.
Rumor and innuendo is there's a couple of things going around. One is that she didn't fit in with what they were doing with the Profits and the Viking Raiders, so they didn't want to have her in the middle of it. And I'm like, well, why does she have to be? Because, I mean, I understand she's married to Montez Ford, but I don't have to be with him. I mean, that doesn't really matter. The other person was saying that they simply don't have anything to feature her at the moment, so they're keeping her off TV till they do. And at this point in time, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, because somebody's complaining like, "Oh, Shayna's not Vince's favorite." It's like if they don't have anything for them, and she's not going to, she's going to come out every weekend and beat somebody up, and then
Well, technically, yes, you can do that, especially when you've treated somebody as badly as you have Shayna on the main roster.
Yeah.
She got one win, one real impressive win, and then after that,
the Elimination Chamber, where she did something nobody else has ever done.
But you know what? She got what Paul Heyman wanted CM Punk to do in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah,
because apparently that was way back when he wanted CM Punk to submit everybody else in the Elimination Chamber to the Anaconda Vice, and he kept pitching that, and it did not happen. So then you get that exact thing happened with Shayna Baszler. She submits everybody in the Elimination Chamber, and all of a sudden Paul Heyman's not in control anymore, and Shayna's off TV. Apparently, she recorded a match for Main Event the other day.
Yeah. So there's that. So
no, that's horrible. Yeah. That is dreadful. If you're not going to use her in a meaningful way, give her back to NXT. She's too good for this crap.
Yeah.
But Bianca, from what everybody's saying, nothing wrong with Bianca. They just don't have something in mind for her at the moment where she's featured, so they don't want to put her on TV right now.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a case where they don't have anything for her. By the way, congrats to Sarah Logan announcing her pregnancy.
Yes, congrats to her and Eric.
Yes, that's good. So one more match in the NXT Great American Bash.
I believe you mean the main event of the evening.
Winner take all. Keith Lee, the North American champion, versus Adam Cole, the NXT champion.
Well, we'll just go ahead and say this right now. It is no longer NXT. Like they said, it is NXT Lee now.
If you avoid the spoilers, by the way, from last
it's fine. If you're watching this long into it and you haven't picked up on the fact we're talking about who won, it's your fault.
But last week, somebody in NXT posted a video of Keith Lee celebrating.
Yeah. And then, God love them, they tried to cover for that by saying that they filmed multiple endings to throw people off.
Yeah.
And sure you did. I think in the COVID world, plus what happened to Edge when you made him go do reshoots, no, you didn't. You didn't film more than anything you needed to film. Either way, great match. I thought those guys really brought it. Probably the only match on the show. Well, no, I'll say that one and the street fight were the matches that felt like pay-per-view matches.
Yeah, that definitely felt like it was a big-time thing.
Yeah.
Adam Cole, star, obviously.
Oh, God, yes.
Keith Lee, this is a guy that in 2 or 3 years when he's in WWE, if he stays the same, we don't tweak this guy.
Oh, you mean when he goes to the main roster as Limitless Keith Lee like he is now, and Vince turns him into a superhero, so he can fly and he can, that's what's going to happen. Let's be real. That's Ricochet.
But yeah, but everything this guy's done has been outstanding in that match. Just the counters and everything, because he fought a guy, like he fought Johnny Gargano, a wrestler.
Yeah,
just the style of everything. And Cole was great in dealing with the size. And Cole, not much smaller than Keith Lee height wise. I mean,
no, but he's much smaller.
Yeah. He doesn't have the.
Oh, he's easily 200 pounds less than this guy. I mean, it is ridiculous how much smaller he is than Keith Lee. But Cole is so good at working with everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. It's nuts. Keith Lee, a great performer. We've seen him work with guys everywhere up to like Dominik Dijakovic, help me out.
The Gargano match was pretty
Gargano. Good. We've seen him work with Cole. We've seen him work with Damian Priest. We've seen him work with Killian Dane. We've seen him work with guys up and down the spectrum of size and body types. And this guy can do it with everybody and have different matches. He just had a match with was it Damian Priest recently?
Yeah.
Where it was like a super heavyweight style match. Like it actually felt like a big man match. Whereas previously his stuff with Dominik was like, they almost were doing high flyer stuff and some power moves. And then he does this stuff with Cole where he plays the big man and he knows how to work with a smaller guy. It's just so good.
Yeah. He's versatile. He's not doing ridiculous spots, even for a big guy. He's doing big stuff, but not stuff where you're like, well, he shouldn't be doing that. And his finishing move, I mean, this from it's almost like, he's going to have 5 of them into a power slam is outstanding. It's a great move. So so hats off to Keith Lee, and definitely was it the best Adam Cole match? No, but it was pretty gosh darn good.
But I mean that's such a fine line because Adam Cole's had some fantastic matches.
Yeah,
but I also loved the shot of Karrion Kross at the end. Watching him from up top.
Yeah, that was great, man. I love that because you know what's next, and I want to see that match because man,
that to me is perfect because you've got your moment, the big ending, and everything, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
You included Karrion Kross, who we are all thinking about anyway, and you set the stage for what's to come in the story, so that even though we got this big moment, now we're left waiting for the next part.
Does Keith Lee? Here's the thing. So he's NX Lee. Is he going to be a thing that he's going to defend like 2 belts in the show? Or are they going to kind of treat him like Becky Lynch, where you got to defend both titles on a pay-per-view? How are they going to treat him?
I don't know, because this isn't like having the Raw title and the SmackDown title where they're the equivalent title on both shows. He's holding 2 different divisions essentially. I mean, I say divisions; they're not really divided up in any meaningful way.
Yeah. But Seth Rollins had to fight Sting and John Cena on the same night, and he lost 1 belt, and he kept the other. So I mean, they could do that and really build him up to this. If you want to go to the Superman status, and maybe that's
Oh, I'm sure he'll have to do a 2-in-1 night thing. I think Kurt Angle did something like that one night. I think he had to defend like the European title or the Intercontinental title.
Well, they had a match at WrestleMania with Jericho and then somebody else was as a 3-way. And then like the first fall.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the second fall. And then he didn't get pinned in either match. And he lost both belts. So
yep.
Michael Lee with a question. Was Priest on Great American Bash?
No.
Who has more losses and still featured as much as him?
That's a good question. Who has as many losses and is featured as much as him? Well, I'm going to say Dominik Dijakovic right up until he was pulled up to the main roster because that dude never won any of the meaningful matches.
No.
But he was still always featured pretty well.
But he had some pretty good matches, though. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Was he the one at the last takeover with Finn Balor? Was that him? And he took the big fall on the steps? Was that Dijakovic in that match?
No, that was Damian Priest.
That was Damian Priest. Okay.
Yeah, that was Damian Priest. I'm trying to think of other guys who have been featured with that many losses. I mean, like he did. I mean, well, let's be perfectly clear. I mean, for a long time, Roderick Strong was that guy.
Yeah,
he was just losing to everybody for the longest time.
Tyler Breeze, like the first go around, like I don't think that dude ever won a match, but he was always featured. He fought
featured very heavily. Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's back to losing again all the time.
The Dream has lost. I think, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the Dream lost a lot for a little bit, but he was still featured pretty well.
Yeah. And then once they fine-tune his character and put him on that role for a little bit, but yeah. I mean, not everybody's going to win every match. I mean, that's like we always talked about, like Sami Zayn, who eventually got the title. But
I know next week Grimes is taking on Priest in a one-on-one match, and we'll see what happens there. Realistically, Priest probably needs the win.
Yeah.
But Grimes, they've done a really good job of protecting him by giving him meaningful wins, and finding a way to protect the guy he beats. So we'll see how that goes. Grimes is a character to watch coming up. So.
All right. Ratings battle again. WWE overall winner, or NXT overall winner for the night. In the money demo, AEW the winner, which is the 1849
that way. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to me that the NXT can't pull a younger crowd.
Yeah, well, it was a style, which I don't know what to do.
I think the catch is the NXT crowd is a lot of the long-term WWE fans. I think it's a lot of the fans who were disenfranchised with the main roster product and have turned to NXT, but they're longtime fans of WWE. Whereas AEW, I think, is pulling the independent crowd who wasn't. Don't get me wrong, there's WWE fans watching it, obviously. But I think they're pulling a lot of guys who were so disenfranchised with WWE they weren't watching it anymore or never had. I find it hard to believe you never have. I mean, that's if you're a wrestling fan, you can't. I don't think you can say you've never watched WWE. I don't think it's possible.
No. All right, so we have so earlier this week. Oh, by the way, but what better night? Week 2 or week 1 of NXT? Probably week 1, but I don't know. But week 2 had two big matches.
What was week 1 again? Do you remember what was on that card?
You had Io Shirai versus Sasha. You had Loomis versus Strong. You had the strap match.
Mm-hmm.
Thatcher versus Lorcan. The Rhea Ripley mess. Tegan Nox versus the Fatal 4-Way. But she has her title match next week, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Nice promo. I thought she could.
Yeah, good video package.
Which is good. Sometimes I think
as far as the overall card, week 1 was stronger. But week 2 had the match that closed all of it. Week 2 had the match. I mean,
and that was probably the best match between both shows this week. But definitely worthy. All right, so a couple of days ago, as we move on from that, you talked to somebody.
I did talk to somebody. I had the opportunity to sit down and have a little conversation with Tyler Connolly. Despite the fact that technology hated me, of Theory of a Dead Man. He's the lead singer for Theory of a Dead Man. I got to talk to him about a lot of things. The full interview is up. You can find it on other pages and YouTubes and whatnot. But I got to talk to him specifically in this part about their connection to WWE, because they've actually had several of their songs featured on WWE. So.
Well, and I would show it right now, but the gosh darn thing is uploading because I thought it was there. So I will add the audio in post is what I'll do on our SoundCloud.
Look at Dave setting me up and then letting me hang out there. That's
but okay. So for the SoundCloud viewers or listeners, that was a great interview.
Thanks. Yeah. Yes, it was a great interview. Thank you. If you want to see the whole interview, you can go to FM99's YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter, whole 9 yards. And find it on there. And
talk about that whole thing. I thought it was there, but I guess when you go away from the page, it did not.
It's whatever. In any event, so until next week, when we will be previewing Extreme Rules for WWE, their main roster pay-per-views are back. We'll talk about that next week. And in the meantime, remember, Facebook.com/ESPR99, on the Twitter @ESPR99, or email us, ESPR@FM99.com, and find us on all your major podcasting apps. Just search ESPR Wrestling, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and a review. We greatly appreciate it. And until next week, when we'll get extreme on your asses, remember to eat, sleep, podcast, and
repeat.
There we go.
No, I could wait and see if it loads, but
it's at this point you're just leaving them hanging now. It's just...
I am. All right. I don't have anything to wave this time. All right, hold on. There, my cat. There we go. It's Daisy. There you go. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you later.